Hi, this is Ariana.
Wait, sorry, wrong podcast po, wrong podcast. Charot. Hi, this is La.
There, this is Cree. And this is the question we often ask each other.
Kung ikaw ako,
Anong gagawin mo? Nakaka-Ariana Grande kasi yung...
just because naka-ponytail siya, feeling niya po siya na si Ariana.
Feeling ko talaga lagi kapag nakaganito yung ponytail ko.
So ano, guys, ano tayong buhok? Charot.
Hindi.
Okay. Kumusta guys? Sana napakinggan niyo ba yung last episode namin? It was fun and it was our first episode since our baboy. Since ang aming pagbabalik.
Yes.
Sobrang dami bloopers ng episode na to. I love it.
We're talking about change the other day.
Mm.
So, Lara and I have decided why not make a podcast out of it? So,
Yeah,
ayun na nga, change.
change is, sabi nga nila, is the only thing constant in our lives. 'Di ba? Parang
Yes.
everyone deals with change every now and then.
How do we really deal with change?
Yeah.
So that's our kung ikaw, oh my
Kung
gosh.
ikaw ako, sige,
Ikaw
what
ako
kung ikaw ako
question.
question?
Our kung ikaw question for today is, how do you deal with change?
Before natin sagutin yung kung ikaw ako question natin, let's first talk about yung mga personal experiences natin with change. Kasi for sure, I'm 29, you're 30, ilang pagbabago na ang naranasan natin sa buhay na to. So, what can you consider the biggest change that you've experienced in your life?
Biggest change talaga is moving abroad. 7, 8 years na kami dito sa Canada. So we moved 2015. And at that time, I was already 23. So I already graduated college. I already started working. So basically, I had a life in the Philippines. Of course, I have friends, my family, relatives, they're all in the Philippines. So that was the biggest and also the most challenging change I ever have to deal with. Kasi it's basically starting or resetting your life eh.
Yeah.
Bale, ito yung alam kong buhay. Ito yung buhay sa Canada. Sobrang iba. The way I dealt with it was hindi siya naging maganda sa una. And I think normal yun sa ating lahat eh. Na, syempre, sa una, hindi tayo agad-agad magiging peaceful sa change na nangyayari sa buhay natin. Like, of course, kasama na dyan yung masasaktan ka, nandiyan na yung pagtatanong na worth it ba tong change na to? Bakit pa ba nagbago kasi? But eventually, darating tayo sa point na we'll get used to it and eventually makikita natin yung positive side ng change. Ibabalik ko naman sa'yo ngayon yung question, Lara. What was or what is the biggest change that happened in your life?
Same with your answer. It was when we moved to Cavite. Kasi I grew up in Manila. Doon ako andun yung family, mga pinsan, ganyan, mga friends na simula pagkabata. And then, right after my high school graduation, we moved to Cavite. And it was, ayaw namin magkakapatid na to the point na nung nagpapak kami ng gamit, sabi ng tatay ko, alam kong ayaw niyong lumipat pero magtulungan tayo. Kasi di kami tumutulong mag-pack. And until now, alam ko yung day kung kailan kami lumipat. It was March 28, 2008. Ito yung
Same.
biggest change sa akin kasi andun yung friends ko. I started my life there. And then parang biglang dinala kami sa isang lugar na wala kaming, hindi na, ako personally, wala akong idea kung nasa ng Cavite. Ang alam ko lang sa Cavite was yung kay Emilio Ronaldo. Kawit Cavite, yun lang. As in, wala talaga. And yun, it was tough. Ako kasi as a person, I really hate change. I remember reading my diary may diary ako nung high school and then parang nabasa ko siya ulit and I was writing down how much I hate change. How much I am fearful of change. So, bata pa lang ako, ayoko na ng change. Ay,
Naalala ko lang dyan sa ano mo, sinasabi mo na hindi mo alam kung saan yung Cavite. Alam ko naman kung saan yung Canada. Alam ko naman siya. But lumaki ako sa Cavite and Manila. And yan yung environment na maingay, di ba? Maingay,
mm,
daming tao. Lumipat kami sa Canada summer.
mm.
Walang tao sa labas. As in talagang andun ako sa balcony namin, asan yung mga tao? Ang
Dapat sila.
tahimik.
Asa sila?
So, oo. So talagang sobrang culture shock siya.
Ilang taon na tayo, friends?
2 years? 1 year? Joke
1 year pa
lang.
rin kami. Hindi, 2000. Kailan ba tayo naging college?
2008,
2008?
college.
2008. So,
Mm-mm.
medyo tagal na din nating friends. Mga 1 month. Charot. Hindi, tagal na din nating friends. So, let's talk about like the change na nakita natin sa isa't isa. Wow, top 3. Ang hirap.
Fishing.
Ang hirap.
Gusto pa ng top 3.
O sige, top 1. Charot, hindi top 3. Alam mo, hirap nito. Hindi ko naman
Ang
pinagandaan
fishing
yung tanong
ka.
na to.
Top 3. Naalala ko kasi talaga kay Lara before. Classmates kami sa college. Ito talaga yung hindi ko makakalimutang moment sa kanya. Yung professor namin at that time, tinatanong kami, what was on our minds? Tapos, syempre kami parang kung anong gagawin namin after school or like mga series, ganun, syempre, hindi rin naman ganun ka-mature. Pero kasi nakakagulantang yung sinabi ni Lara. Iniisip niya kung anong laro ang lalaruin nila ng mga playmates nila after school.
To think college.
So, oo. Mas bata talaga sa amin si Lara, pero 1 year lang naman. Yun talaga yung branding ni Lara eh. Like, childish talaga siya, immature talaga siya. And kahit naman ngayon like aminin na
Actually,
natin,
oo naman.
childish ka pa rin for me. Like, immature pa rin. However, syempre may growth din talaga.
I love it.
Oo naman, hindi ko naman iaalis yun sa'yo. And I think you've become tougher then as a person.
I love it.
Oo.
Tribute pala
You've
ito.
become sabi ko sa'yo, fishing to. Fishing siya.
Tapos na pressure ako, oh.
Kasi before, talagang laging all feelings and all. And syempre, hindi naman perfect eh. Like, you wear your heart on your sleeve. Ganon pa din. However, kahit papaano, ando doon na yung logic eh.
Smarter. Charot.
Oo, smarter na. And napansin ko din sa'yo, you've changed din talaga sa attachment mo sa mga tao.
I love it.
I don't know if it's just because sa situation or sa circumstances, but I think it's a good thing din na marunong ka rin mag-detach, especially kapag medyo yung situation is hindi nakakatulong sa life mo or sa growth mo. Yeah.
The biggest change I've seen in you is yung physical.
Okay.
Oh, no, no, no. Like,
Huling araw mo na to.
oh, no, no, no. The dedication na pinuput mo
Oo.
into fitness. Or actually, mali yung physical na term eh. On your wellness. May it be physical or mental wellness. Parang you prioritize yourself so much. Know how to take care of yourself. Kasi given our experiences in the past, di ba, parang G lang for the sake of other people. Like, sige, kasi mahal kita, gagawin ko to. And you tend to forget yourself. But this time, like, hands down, like, grabe, you work out every day. You're cautious about sa mga
Mm-mm.
bagay that could affect your mental health and you advocate yon. I think nag-mature ka nung nagkaasawa ka somehow.
Oo.
Of course, may choice
Medyo.
ba? Parang may choice
Mm-mm.
eh. Hindi, pero I think what you've been through, like moving to a different country, getting married, sabi mo nga, ng maaga, I think it resulted to you being parang mas napabilis yung pagma-mature mo because you're there na
Mm.
eh. Parang ito na 'to, kailangan kailangan mo na mag-toughen up and parang before I think kasi you're a yes person. But now parang you put boundaries and o baka sa'kin lang 'pag ayaw niya na po akong kausap.
Depende lang. Parang oo, parang depende lang. It
No,
depends,
but
I guess, yes.
yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, like ako kasi learning how to say no and when to say no is a sign of maturity and it's a good kind of change. Yun.
Mm. Dito sa ginagawa nating fish shake sa isa't isa, parang na-realize ko din na parang hindi natin masyadong napag-uusapan yung ano, yung goodness na nangyari sa atin. Kasi kahit naman mahirap eh, and kaya tayo talaga nag-grow, kaya tayo natututo dahil sa mga challenges. And itong change is isa talaga siyang challenge sa atin. So, talagang hinuhulman niya tayo as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, kasi kaya tayo natatakot sa change kasi it's something new, it's something different, it's something out of our comfort zone. And we as a person, we have this fear of the unknown. 'Di ba? Parang kaya we hate it. Uncomfortable ang change. Tama kayo, may maganda din siyang naidudulot sa atin na hindi natin masyadong nare-realize na, oh, that's why we're like this now is because of the change that we've experienced in the past.
It's just us being human na we tend to focus on the bad things.
Or
Hindi,
yeah,
like, mas na-acknowledge natin yung mga challenges na nangyayari sa atin. And kulang tayo masyado sa celebration ng
true.
mga wins natin in life. And maraming magandang nangyari sa atin dahil sa mga change na nangyari. I mean, imagine kung hindi ka lumipat ng Cavite, hello, sino ka-podcast mo ngayon?
Wala tayong podcast with XX number of subscribers.
Oo, like hello, sino ka-ano mo ngayon? Hindi, and kung hindi ako lumipat sa Canada, who knows, baka wala pa rin akong asawa ngayon or
Kasi tayo parang gusto natin yung sanay na tayo. Gusto natin, tsaka tayo parang yung past, we always cling dun sa past na takot tayo what the future holds. That's why
mm.
we hate change.
I mean, andito na rin naman tayo sa na-acknowledge na natin yung benefits ng change and yung goodness, yung good side ng pagkakaroon ng change. Now, I wanna ask you, sabi mo nga, 'di ba, change is the only constant thing in the world. So, whether you like it or not, magkakaroon at magkakaroon ka ng change, 'di ba? So, how do you embrace it or like how do you make peace na part na talaga 'to ng buhay mo?
Ako yun. I made peace na lahat magbabago, walang constant. Like, our
Mm.
relationship now can evolve into something or pwede siyang tomorrow, next month, pwedeng hindi na tayo ulit naman nag-uusap. Alam mo yun yung hindi, pero like, I think the best way to deal with change is to really accept that everything can change in a snap of a finger. 'Di ba? Parang wala
Mhm.
ng constant. Even, kunwari asawa mo, ibang-iba yan, iba yung relationship
Oo.
at iba siya nung first day niyo mag-asawa sa kung ano siya ngayon. 'Di ba? Parang
Oo naman. Akala ko sasabihin mo, malay mo bukas iba na asawa
hindi
mo.
naman. I root for you guys. Hindi, parang
Oh,
you have to be open and flexible na a lot can happen. Yeah, ikaw.
mm. Yeah, and I agree with that, especially sa marriage. Kasi for me, even love change. Not like it changed na, okay, fine. Like it happens. Like people fall in and fall out of love. But like with marriage, especially with my marriage, not that it changed, but it evolves. So like yung feelings mo talaga minsan, sabi mo nga, sa una parang it's all butterflies, ganon. like honeymoon phase, tapos biglang alam mo yon na chill ka na lang and may mga times na stagnant na lang, ganon, and it's fine. Kasi ganun talaga eh. Hindi ka naman pa pwedeng, ito
Lagi
yung
nasa
sinasabi ko
taas.
sa asawa ko,
Oh, oh,
hindi ka pa pwedeng excited araw-araw. Kasi kung excited ka araw-araw at masaya ka araw-araw, paano mo naman differentiate yung happiness sa sadness? And paano mo ma-appreciate yung happiness kung lagi ka na lang, kung lagi siyang andyan sa'yo?
true.
But how I embrace change is, first I acknowledge my feelings.
Mm,
Like, hindi ko kasi ipagkakaila na kahit na sabihin natin na may goodness sa change. Sabi ko nga kanina, sa una, hindi naman madali. Sa una, pwede ka masaktan.
mm,
So, if you have to mourn, then mourn. Be sad about it.
yeah, yeah.
Ganon. But eventually, you'll realize na your love, your relationships, and yung mga tao na talagang nagmamatter sa'yo and gusto mo maging constant sa buhay mo, kailangan yung time and love mo sa kanila should be greater than any change. Ganon. Magbago man yung dynamic nyo na hindi man kayo constant na mag-usap, mag-change man yung environment and all, hindi nagbabago yung pinaka-foundation nyo.
Or, yeah.
Ganon.
Actually, ang galing. Naalala ko lang nung 2 weeks ago, this past few weeks, kasi I've been spending time with my high school friends na I haven't
Mm-mm.
seen in a very, very long time. I think 3 years. 3 years kami hindi nagkita kasi pandemic. And then, when we were in the balcony, I spent time with two of my guy friends. Tapos parang walang nagbago. Alam mo yung parang ang daming time na lumipas, ilang taon nang lumipas. Pero walang nagbago sa dynamics namin, sa relationship namin. Although nag-mature kami as a person, nagbago yung priorities, naging goal-oriented and stuff like, naging leader of the family, yung mga ganun. Pero yung core, yung foundation ng friendship namin and how we treat each other, it didn't change. So,
Andun pa din. Mm-mm.
andun pa din. So, ang galing lang na sinabi mo na parang the external forces can change, but what's important is kung ano yung core.
Hindi madali ang mga changes in life. So, kailangan mo talagang alagaan yung sarili mo kasi it can be emotionally draining.
And mentally
And
exhausting.
oo, honestly, na-drain talaga ako, especially nung nag-immigrate kami kasi it was really big.
Yeah.
Kasi parang hindi lang siya sa, of course, I'm not invalidating yung mga nagmo-move lang from city to city, but like, ang laki. Culture shock, language. Alam mo yun, may time talaga na marunong naman ako mag-English. Syempre, since ano pa, preschool,
Yeah,
talagang nag,
oo.
nag-i-English na tayo nun, 'di ba?
Oh,
Pero yung gagamitin mo yung English like on
every
your
day.
everyday life, sumasakit talaga yung ulo ko, walang biro.
Oo.
Sumasakit talaga yung ulo ko nung mga first few months. But how do I take care of myself pa? Hindi lang halata sa akin, pero I pray. I talk to the Lord talaga. Kasi minsan, hindi naman sa ayaw mong makaabala ng ibang tao. But like minsan talaga, especially kapag hindi naman relatable yung nangyayari sa'yo,
Mm.
hindi mo makuha yung gusto mong marinig.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And hindi kasalanan ng isang tao yun. Kasi
Yeah.
hindi naman nila nararanasan, 'di ba? So, sometimes na wala akong choice, um, I talk to God.
Mm.
Like parang alam ko naman na wala akong choice kundi pagdaanan 'to. Like I have to suck it up at the end of the day. I just need strength.
Yes. Actually,
So,
ang ganda ng sagot mo na parang ako din, isa din yan sa mga ginagawa ko na parang I remind myself that this is part of his plan, that his plans are greater than mine, his ways are higher than my way. So parang wala naman talaga tayong magagawa kasi but to suck it up and just
Mm.
have courage and strength nga to deal with it.
Ano ba yung sinabi ng therapist ko before? Create ka rin ng hobby.
Yeah, find a new
Like,
hobby.
especially kapagka new environment, try mong gumawa ng mga hobbies na bago naman. Like, alam mo yon na exclusive lang dito sa environment na 'to. Parang gano'n, para mas ma-appreciate mo yung change.
So we've talked about the changes that we've experienced, how we dealt with it, the self-care na ginawa natin. So, dahil na-establish na natin at paulit-ulit nating sinasabi na change is the only constant thing in the world. For sure, bukas sa makalawa, sa susunod na linggo, buwan, taon, whatever, may change, maliit o malaki na mangyayari sa atin. Are there any changes in your life that you're anticipating? And how are you
Mm.
preparing for it?
Well, I'm married, I'm 30, so alam mo yon, siyempre kahit papaano napag-uusapan na rin yung kids. Hindi
Talaga ba?
naman anytime soon. Oo, oo naman.
Oo.
Hindi anytime soon, but always wanted to have a baby naman talaga. But hindi lang talaga sa ngayon. So, that's something na pinaghahandaan namin financially, emotionally, ako physically, sa bahay. Gusto rin namin lumipat ng bahay, gano'n. So, I know that it's gonna change. Sa career, siyempre, as a career woman, tayong dalawa, meron naman tayong career goals. So, alam naman natin na darating at darating sa point na magmo-move forward tayo sa kung ano man ang role natin ngayon. So, eto yung mga changes na in-anticipate ko na mangyayari in the future and how I prepare for it. I take it day by day. Like, sabi mo nga, I take care of myself not like how I used to before. So, sobra kong pina-prioritize yung mental health ko, yung wellness ko ngayon. Kasi kung hindi ako mentally prepared, hindi ako magiging effective na tao in the future. And hindi ako makakapag-make peace sa change. Kasi meron akong mental health issue. So, ganun talaga ako mag-prepare sa lahat ng aspeto ng buhay ko and anticipating change or like embracing change na as a part of my life is not an exception for that. How about you? Ano naman yung mga changes na in-anticipate mo in the future na pwede mong i-share, of course, and how do you prepare for it? Alam mo, artista, ano yung mga projects mo?
There are plans to move to another country and I love it. And I think that's
Mm,
gonna be the biggest change that's I'm anticipating at right now. Because like what you said, it's different. And last year pa siya, pero nagbago-bago na yung mga plano. So it started parang Sydney muna, and then Singapore, balik to Sydney, and then yung high school friend ko was so excited for me na pinlano niya na. Like, nung nagkita kami, grabe talaga. Like, sinabi niya na, susunduin kita sa airport. Ito yung una natin kailangan gawin. Ito, bla. May itinerary na parang hindi ko kailangan mag-isip. Dadating lang ako doon and then, okay, susunod lang ako sa kung ano sasabihin niya and then, okay na. And then, biglang
mm,
last week, biglang sinabi sa Melbourne na ako. Tapos, noong una okay lang. And then, naratal ako na parang, shit, hindi ko alam saan ako magsisimula kasi wala akong kaibigan doon. And sana sa pag-move ko abroad. Lord, sana ikasal na ako. Para sabay kami ni Krim magbubuntis in 3 to 5 years.
mm. Ay, hindi
Yun.
ko naman sinabi na ano lang, hindi ko nililimit yung sarili ko sa pagbubuntis. I'm open to other,
Ay, 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 said.
ano, other ways. Oo,
As a
open
sort of
naman ako.
family. Anyway,
Mm,
so, ang dami nating hanas about change. Right? So,
mhm.
let's just end this episode with a reflection. Or
Okay. Akala ko sabi mo, "Let's just end this episode."
period. No, with a
Mm,
reflection or like a, a closing statement about change and its positive outcomes sa buhay natin, and then yung growth, yung more like celebration of change.
We kind of celebrated na kanina nung nag-reflect tayo na ito yung mga changes natin. I think sobrang important yun. Hindi lang dahil sa nagpa-podcast tayo, but I think important yun na i-acknowledge mo yung goodness ng change sa mga people around you para 'di ba sila din mismo ma-realize nila na uy may kagandahan din pala tong change in life 'di ba. So yon, celebrating small wins. Kung walang change, I don't think I will be the woman
That you
that
are
I am right now. And
true.
I kind of love what I am right now naman. Like
Okay.
parang lahat ng na-experience ko in life and lahat ng mga changes naman in life, nahulma niya talaga kung ano ko ngayon. And hindi lang naman sa akin eh. Like for example, may manghihingi sa akin ng advice, meron akong mako-contribute na may sense naman. Oo. So, sobrang daming goodness. Yun.
Okay.
Good job, change. How about you?
I think kung may parting words ako sa ating milyong-milyong listeners, charot, is embrace it. Learn to live with it and just get the positive from it. Yun, parang,
Mm-mm.
kasi totoo talaga sa lahat, alam nyo, wow, matanda. Sa lahat naman ng nangyayari sa buhay natin, lahat may rason. And hindi
Mm-mm.
man natin nakikita yung rason now, hindi man natin nakikita yung outcome or yung effect right now. Pero few days, few months, few years from now, you'll realize na, that's why it happened kasi ito yung mangyayari, or that's why it happened kasi kailangan kong matutunan to. Parang lagi na lang natin iisipin na in every change, there's a lesson that comes with it. Love it.
And hindi natin ma-appreciate yung buhay natin kung walang change. Kasi kung
Oo,
ganito
so
at ganito lang
boring.
tayo, hindi natin alam yung difference between the good and the bad.
Yeah, and we don't want to live a boring life, right? Kailangan mo lang ng courage and strength to face it, and a lot of like good people surrounding you.
Mhm.
And yan,
Patience din.
yeah.
Oo.
Anyway,
Anyways, may concert pa ako.
and guys,
Ayan
dahil
na.
yung extra namin is from Parokya ni Edgar, please don't forget to support and donate for Gab.
Mhm.
Yan.
Yes, meron silang in-auction ngayon, 'di ba? Yung signed. Kaso
Ito.
lang baka pag release na natin
Kaya
tong
nga eh.
podcast na to, ano.
So, mag-QR
Mm-mm.
codes na lang kayo. Yes! Rest back
Mm-mm.
para
But
kay
get well
Gab.
soon, Gab.
Don't leave. Charot. Go.
Mm. Anyways, ayun, paano ba natin 'to tatapusin? Since tapos na 'to. May
Well,
concert pa ako.
hindi ko alam kung paano tatapusin ang podcast na to.
Kaya ganito na lang,
Bigla-bigla na lang.
walang mawawala.
Oh, wala.